consequences. Rachel.
Yes, I think it is in character for Khamenei to threaten the lives of Israeli civilians who have nothing to do with this conflict. I think that he is a brutal dictator who wants to just see as much damage done to Israel as possible, and he doesn't care who is involved and who is not. But I think that the people of Israel are ready to withstand the threat, and I think that we know what we're fighting for. We're fighting to free the brave people of Iran from a tyrannical regime. And Khamenei doesn't scare me.
Rachel, which brings me to ask you the one question that, it's not just Israel versus Iran. It is also Iran's axis of resistance. When you talk about the Hezbollahs, when you talk about the Houthis, they also get activated. And there are reports indicating that they have already activated. Israel may have sent out some strikes in Lebanon already against Hezbollah. But both Houthis and Hezbollah have responded saying that they are going to fight. And again, it's going to be a multi-pronged war.
The situation is still developing. I can't speak to what's going on the other fronts. I know that so far Lebanon has not retaliated. I can't speak to Hamas and the Houthis. So the best I can say is that we can just follow the news very closely and wait to find out what's going to happen and take all necessary precautions to stay near shelters, in shelters, and try as best we can to stay calm because Israel knows how to defend itself, and it will.
An Iranian missile has been intercepted over Qatar as well. The Interior Ministry has urged its citizens to remain calm after an attack by a criminal enemy, and very significantly, they have said that all US-Israel assets in the region are a legitimate target. Just help us understand what could be, Gauri, before I bring in Rachel again. When Iran says that all assets of Israel and US in the region are now legitimate targets, what are these targets that they could be indicating?
US actually has a very large base that operates out of Qatar, one of its largest bases there. Then there is the naval...
And that's where a missile has just been intercepted.
In that airspace, yes. Yeah. And then there are massive naval assets also that US has in and around the entire Middle East region. So what you're talking about here is when Iranian reports indicate that any of these assets could be fair game, then it just means that it could be the Houthis, it could be the Hezbollahs, it could be the Hamas, no matter how limited it may be in its existence than what it was before the October 2023 assault. All of this, in addition to Iran, will come out and attack any of those air bases, any of those massive naval capabilities that US has, and in addition has deployed in that entire region, whether it's naval or in fact even your entire bases, Qatar being one of the largest bases that US has in that
And if an American base is attacked, we are only going to see this conflict escalate many-fold. Then it is not going to be confined only to what's happening between US, Israel and Iran.
And that Operation Epic Fury is then going to actually see Donald Trump unleash all of those military options that are on the table. They're still on the table.
And then other countries will also be drawn in.
It could be, even though we are still not sure as to whether several of these other countries would like to directly be involved in this entire region.
And so far, none of them have actually responded. It's been going on for over 2 hours now, and we haven't seen any heads of state from any of the NATO countries respond.
And the reason for that also is because, I'll tell you why, because, these strikes happened just a day after those talks were taking place. Yeah. You had US and Iran talking about it, being mediated through Oman. And just about 12 hours back, you had the Omani foreign minister in Washington briefing J.D. Vance, talking about what could be the next course of action. What followed was then these strikes that happened.
Okay, let me give a quick update which has come in from the Israeli Air Force, Gauri, and a statement has just been released by the IDF spokesperson announcing that the IDF and US Army have launched a joint, extensive and powerful operation to strike the Iranian terror regime and remove existential threats to the state of Israel. Over the long term, the blow included the targeting of dozens of military sites and was carried out as part of a broad, coordinated and joint offensive against the regime, which has not abandoned its plan to destroy Israel. In recent months, and despite a severe blow it suffered in Operation With a Lion, the IDF identified that the regime continued its attempts to fortify, protect and conceal its nuclear programs alongside the restoration of its missile production process. In the months preceding the offensive, joint and meticulous planning was carried out between the IDF and the US Army, which has enabled the execution of a broad offensive in synchronization and maximum coordination between the armies. So they're actually officially now saying that we had a coordinated strike.
Yes.
Military sites have been struck, and this was a broad, coordinated and joint offensive against Iran.
And all of these targets have a certain messaging, and we can get Rachel in on just that. Even though it may be a ceremonial residence of the Supreme Leader, it has a message. There is the Defense Ministry, there is the Ministry of Intel, then there is the Atomic Energy Complex. All of them, there is a certain messaging attached to it, and that's why they have been identified and picked. And across central Iran, you see cities that have been picked have a message there, including Isfahan, where of course you have the nuclear weapons facility of Iran, which Iran has all along maintained is only for civilian nuclear purposes. But the intel that US and Israel had was that it could be upwards of 60%. You only need 80% of enrichment of uranium to actually make it into a bomb. And in fact, if we still have Rachel with us, we can ask her just on that, the significance of the specific targets that were identified where Israel struck Iran today.
Hi, I do have to go in a second, but I just want to say that I think the targets that we have struck so far indicate that Israel and the US are taking out Iran's nuclear capabilities, and they're targeting key leaders of the nuclear operations. And I think that we're seeing a very strategic, targeted operation as opposed to what Khamenei has promised to bring down on Israel, which is targeting just regular civilian areas and civilians.
All right. That, of course, was Rachel Lester, former IDF spokesperson's unit soldier, speaking to us about how things are unfolding right now. Even as the latest update that we have is that Iran has hit back. So the retaliatory strikes that we've